Get up that refresh, yo.
I think.
Yeah, we're live. Live at 5.
Definitely live.
There we go. All right. Let me retweet. Let me get this retweet out there. We already got the Mullens starting comments in there. 1, 2, 3, bing bang boom. Let's get this going. Hang with me here for a second, fellas.
The internal one did just show up.
Boom.
Oh, look at that.
All right.
What are you gonna do? All right. Well, whichever one you'd like. Welcome. It is three fellas, and these three fellas. What are we doing, Ben?
We're talking football.
He's so
Come on
excited.
now, amateur hour.
He's so excited. Three fellas talking football. Karl Marx says, "Morning, gents." Where is he?
It morning sometime somewhere.
To him.
He's actually in like the valley, like in Inland Empire, California, like Joshua Tree, middle of nowhere.
Okay.
It's a funny
So
place.
It's 4:30 in the afternoon.
Yeah, it's his third morning.
Okay. Yeah, right. Just making sure. Anyway, we are gonna break down the Showdown slate as we do each, and I don't even know if you call it a slate, each and every Thursday. Over the past couple of weeks, we've taken more of a Showdown specific narrative here because people like it. People enjoy this, man. People love throwing money at the NFL Showdown, and you can share a lot of money with a lot of your closest friends. $888,888 prize pool over there on DraftKings. $200,000 to first Andrew. Oakland versus San Francisco. Is there any relevant news we should possibly know about regarding quarterbacks? Maybe this is why DraftKings always prices quarterbacks at $6K no matter what.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. The 49ers cut Tom Savage today, so it's the end of an era.
So who do we got?
We have some guy named Nick Mullens who's going to be starting. Beathard is well enough to be the backup quarterback, which is why they just signed Savage to be the emergency guy. And apparently Beathard's well enough that if the shit hits the fan, then he can come back in and play. So I think they're just trying to sneak one against a trash team and see if they can get away with Nick Mullens.
The line earlier today, when I was looking at it, was 2.5. And now, Ben, the line on this game is Oakland -1. So it did move. It definitely moved with Mullens at the helm, which is funny because it's not like CJ Beathard was lighting the world on fire either. But here you have it. You have Nick Mullens. The Niners were 2.5-point home favorites. They're now 1-point road dogs or home dogs. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, Nick Mullens, he's never done, I don't think he's thrown a pass. Pride of Southern Miss.
Do you know who he is from college? You're a big college guy.
I mean, I knew he went to Southern Miss, but he wasn't a standout there. He had a good career there, but he wasn't like a super good quarterback. I was surprised he was in the league, to be honest.
What do you expect from him tonight? We got a sexy 44-point total. You got a 21-point, 21.5-point implied total for looking like San Francisco. What are you making of him tonight? You expecting big things, man? You going to come out there and show the Bay Area what's up?
He's going to show probably what's up in the form that he shouldn't be starting in the NFL. It's gonna be interesting. I mean, the first question that came to me is obviously, okay, what does it do to his weapons? Someone like Goodwin comes to mind. Can he effectively get him the ball? Whereas the running backs, Kittle, those guys, the targets are a little easier, higher conversion, simple throws. I don't think they'll be as disrupted as some of the the more volatile options on the Niners. I don't think he's going to be – I don't see many ways where he's good in the sense that he's slinging it. I think he could be effective, a conservative game plan, doesn't turn it over, can get the ball out, and they could – I mean, it's Oakland. It's not like they're playing anybody good. They easily could still win this game.
I mean, yeah, they smashed the Cardinals last week, right? And now, what a brutal game that was, Andrew. I watched every minute of it, too. And Arizona still figures out how to pull that one out. I mean, This is a bad San Francisco team. Ben just broke it down, but it's pretty bad that Oakland's still only favored by a point, and this defense has not generated much of a pass rush. They've been mutilated in the passing game. We saw Andrew Luck and co. drop 48 on them last week. Marlon Mack went up 42. Marlon Mack, another huge game. This is a really bad Oakland defense. So what are your plans with a guy like Mullens, and how does it affect this entire San Francisco team for you?
Right, I sort of wanted to bring that back to Ben because I think the counterpoint to that, what he was saying about shorter targets being more viable, that's certainly true. But let's not forget this is Oakland. They're very slow in the secondary. They don't generate a pass rush, so it's very easy to have the time to develop deep routes, especially with someone like Marquise Goodwin. Like, can this guy throw the ball at all? Like, can he at least get it downfield? Do you know?
Not. I mean, can he get it downfield? He's good. I'm assuming he's good enough to do that, but that your guess is as good as mine in terms of how effective he can be. I will totally agree with, if he's going to be successful, this is the perfect matchup to get thrown in there for. Yeah. No doubt about that. If he was playing a team that's really going to put the heat on him, that would be a defense captain, lock it up. I really don't have that much interest in someone like Oakland's D, despite what the situation is.
Yeah, are we looking at a yards per attempt in the realm of Sam Bradford?
I mean, that's kind of what I'm envisioning, but
okay. Dinkin Duncan it.
Get over the top, Andrew. I mean,
I have no idea who this person is. I'm just saying, like, Oakland is the easiest team in the league to do that on. So, right. I think that what you're saying, it logically makes a lot of sense. But people aren't stupid about this. They're breaking down every angle that they can on Oakland, San Francisco on Thursday night. So I think Goodwin will be less owned than he should be, if that makes sense.
And the interesting thing with Goodwin, regardless of quarterback, because it's not like he's had quality quarterback play in some of these games where he's actually put up quality numbers, is he only needs one. Like, Goodwin can get it done with one, right? What did he have? 4 for 126 and 2 touchdowns against Green Bay. That was on 5 targets, Andrew. I mean, he hasn't been targeted more than 5 times in a game this year. With Goodwin, you're not hoping that he's a target monster and gives you 8 for 106, but he only needs one, and then one long touchdown, maybe like a 20, 30-yard reception after that, and you're in business. Like, it's not crazy to think that Goodwin, if he's super low owned, which is like 25% on this slate,
right,
is viable.
Yeah, and if he I think the other thing too is, like, he's so fast that if the Raiders just screw up their coverage, like, it's very easy for him to take a 10-yard dig route past everybody. So I agree. I think logically it makes sense that Goodwin is not as good of a situation for him as you might normally think.
Right.
But I think the payoff is potentially there. And again, it's freaking Showdown. So when you can get a crazy nuke player at potentially a bit lower ownership, I think it makes sense to take some stabs, and especially against a team like Oakland.
I'm not sure anyone would normally think that this was a good spot for Goodwin. I think we're just really taking shots in the dark. I'm curious, though, Ben, about Kittle here, and we'll get into some obvious game theory and strategy, because that's really what it comes down to on these slates. You're kind of building around a bit of a storyline. Looking at Kittle, he's been the one reliable pass catcher all season for this San Francisco team. I've always been a big fan of this guy. His monster blocks in college were a lot of fun to watch, but then he transitioned. When they saw him ship off Vance McDonald before the season began last year, he definitely is a quality pass-catching tight end. And now you're looking at 4 games this season of 80-plus yards. He had a 79-yard game in there as well. Like, Kittle has pretty solid. If his problem is they never really have much opportunity in the red zone, especially with the recent quarterback play. But from a yards, target, and reception standpoint, Kittle's been really good.
Yeah, he's a player. The targets have been there. Him and Beathard also, it's worth noting they both went to Iowa. They seem to like each other. That is a good connection. And this is just more out of necessity tonight. I think even, we just spoke about Goodwin, and I really do like that line of thinking. Having said that, we also talked about Goodwin's the kind of guy, if he gets 5 targets, you'll live with it. Mullens is going to have to throw, obviously. So who else is it going to? Maybe some of the backs. but I don't see many ways where Kittle doesn't at least get his fair share in terms of a solid floor. And in a game I think it's going to be a pretty ugly game all around. If he puts up, 12, 13, that could be part of the optimal build tonight. So it's going to be popular, but for good reason, I think.
I'm with you there. I think Kittle, the only thing you don't like is he's the third highest priced player on the board. But I don't know, Andrew. Kittle, at least, we don't know what we're getting from Nick Mullens. None of us are going to pretend that we do, especially you and me. Ben actually has some idea of what this guy is about. I really have no idea. That's just honest. I went back and watched a couple of YouTube reels of him, but that's it. I just oh, Nick Mullens, let me look. But I really don't know much about him, and I would imagine most of the field playing tonight is in our shoes.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Kittle will be the second most popular tight end on the slate because the other one is in the best spot of anyone, I think.
Yeah.
You've got no Jaquiski Tart, who is sort of the guy that primarily gets tasked with trying to lock down tight ends. He does a good job of it. Pretty good player. San Francisco's defense is horrid too. So this, I will say, we often talk about how that not being the greatest strategy. Again, in lower total games, it's fine. But this really, really strikes me as a double kicker spot because both of these defenses are absolutely horrid. So the teams are going to be able to move the ball. I just don't know if the offenses are going to be good enough to punch it in. So strikes me as a lot of hey, we drove for 37 yards and now we're stuck on the 29-yard line. Might as well kick it again. I feel like that's going to end up happening a fair amount. So
Robbie Gould,
yeah,
obviously, captain.
Robbie, solid Gould. You look at the run game too, though, Andrew, for San Francisco. Matt Breida has suffered an injury to every bone, ligament, and muscle in his body this season. Last week he just face plants into the dirt, into the grass, comes up, he's just got chunks of grass and dirt. Chunks. You couldn't even see his face. And it's this would happen to no one other than Breida this season. He's been just brutalized, and he's active every week. Now, the funny thing is he was completely ineffective last week on the ground against the San Francisco team and defense that was giving them ample opportunity. They let them hang around all the way up until the final drive when they ended up winning. I was the Fox broadcasters. It was dreadful. I don't know if you guys watched any of this. I had some David Johnson. I'm done. It's over. No more. I can't. Byron, they're like, oh man, this team just showing a whole lot more confidence with Byron Leftwich there and not Mike McCoy. Look at him, just way more confident. Offense is moving better. It's the third quarter and you have 100 total yards. What game are you watching that I'm not? Because you're still not getting David Johnson in space. Besides the point,
you have to create space for that to happen. They don't really create space.
Right. They have nothing changed is what I'm saying. Point is, despite that, San Francisco still lost and generated nothing offensively and finished with 10 points despite the ball being punted back to them literally every 4 minutes. So it is one of these instances where okay, Matt Breida is going to play. People are going to target him because it seems like a game where they're going to want to keep the ball out of Nick Mullens' hands likely as much as possible. But Raheem Mostert, who a lot of us, including myself, at least thought would get some work last week with a hobbled Breida, especially given that he had easily been the most effective back on the ground over the last 2 weeks from an efficiency standpoint, saw only 2 carries, of course, for 18 yards and had a long of 14. What do you make of this run game for San Francisco? Because I think this could make a massive difference today if someone gets that right.
Yeah, I guess I'll have to answer this. I don't know what to say. I don't want to talk about this. It's tough.
See how long I can be quiet for. And Ben's going to have to hop in. Guys, that was my plan there.
Breida if it's more than a 4 or 5 play drive, they have to go to commercial because Breida gets hurt every drive. You're not even joking with that. I've seen a fair amount of the Niners this year, and the guy it's amazing. You're right. He never misses games, but he's perpetually injured.
Yeah, he's missing fingers, though.
Yeah, no, he's just broke. Every drive, they have an extra timeout because he's injured, and he comes back, and it's a revolving door. this is a tough spot. I think if you're making a bunch of teams, you're going to mix and match because I would say Breida gets the first shot. They want to sustain it on the ground. If they get out ahead, he's the guy I would expect, carries wise to really get the work. If it gets into a playing catch up mode, I think that's up for grabs. Obviously, Alfred Morris, he seems, more touched at like kind of in the LeGarrette Blount bucket where he's going to need to fall into the end zone a couple times to really be pertinent. So for me,
Morris stinks, man.
Yeah, he's garbage. I think you can mix and match the two backs. It's just I don't feel really confident in either of them. Honestly, it's not a great spot, but they're both going to be popular for good reason. I mean, this is Oakland we're talking about. This is a defense you can exploit certainly on the ground.
It is, Andrew, as Ben just said. Like this defense just is hemorrhaged points. I mean, Marlon Mack. I'm actually starting to believe in the young fella, but still, monster production against them. They coughed up 42 points at home inside the black hole. I mean, you see a guy like Mustard and you're like, all right, well, clearly you can't rely on the touches. That's simple. We know that for a case. For a fact. It's not like he's a guy that like, oh well, he's seeing opportunities, he's just not producing. Well, no, we have no idea that he's even going to see the opportunities. But he clearly at least has been someone that has injected a little bit of encouragement into the offense. But then last week it's like, no, you know what? Breida's doing jack shit. Nothing. We're up by a few points somehow, but let's keep running this beleaguered half in the grave running back into the ground.
Tell us how you really feel.
It's crazy, though. It's crazy. I don't know. What do you think, Andrew?
It's truly bad. I think sort of the way I start to break this down, if you're really thinking about it, right? There's 3 different running backs. We don't have a strong indicator. Breida's the most likely, I suppose, if he were to make it through the whole game, to have the best game. They probably are going to try to run the ball. But there's I think all 3 of those guys are going to be popular. Maybe not Morris and watch him troll, but I think all 3 of those guys are going to be popular. And then there's the 4th option is the passing game, right? And I think it might be the least popular of those, or at least when you break all of that down. So you've got running backs that are going to be taking away sort of ownership from some of those passers because people, for the most part, know that they need to tell a story when you come down to these games. So I would rather take the risk on what is certainly the highest upside because they catch passes and none of the running backs really do. I'd rather just, try and hope that the 49ers are throwing the ball and that people like Goodwin and Kittle are the ones getting it done and screw the running backs. I mean, it's more than 50% likely that one of those running backs is going to end up being the dude on San Francisco you really need. But I think the 3 of them combined are going to take up well more than 50% of the ownership. So I'd rather shoot the moon, personally.
So are you
Fair enough.
Mullens?
Am I using Mullens? A little bit. I don't think it's insane either. And listen, it normally is, but Beathard is clearly well enough. I was joking about big news that cut Tom Savage, but they did cut Tom Savage today, which means Beathard is well enough to come in and be the backup quarterback. If they just start getting trucked, they're going to bring in CJ Beathard and he's going to be airing it out. So
you think?
Yeah. Why? I mean, that's what would happen, right? He's well enough to be the backup quarterback. If what normally happens, if someone is really bad at quarterback, they bring in a backup.
If you're competitive in the division,
that's my thought. If he's hurt, if it's an emergency in the sense that he can play, but they're 1. That was my thought too. They're 1-7.
I feel like if Mullens doesn't get hurt, this team sits at 1-7 in the basement of the division in the conference. Or unless it's so embarrassingly bad, it's CJ, just do the fella a favor. You're watching, right? He's like, I'm trying not to, but I am. They're 1-7. I don't know if they would even bring a guy that might be okay to play. To me, it seems like here's what I'm saying. Let's say the Niners were 4-4 or 5-3, right?
Yeah.
And Beathard was hurt, but good enough to play. He would start. That's how I see it.
I agree.
He can't hold the ball, though. So it's I think they're just trying to see what happens with Nick Mullens and hope that he works out. So
Right.
I don't know. I mean, it's also like, yeah, I know they're 1-7 and they're out of it or whatever, but like we've got Kyle Shanahan's a young coach. It's his second year. Kid's got some pride. He grew up in football. Like he's not just he's been around Gruden before. I'm sure. Like with when his dad was coaching against him. I think that there's some pride there. I don't think he like just punts the game necessarily. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, I'm with you there. I think it's just a matter of there are some, and we don't know this. We certainly do not know, and so that's why I totally get what you're saying. There are some instances where, in case of emergency, literally means if it has to be. Under no circumstance within the game flow it will be. And then there's other times where the guy, they prefer not to go to him unless they really have to.
Right, and I'm not saying that Kyle Shanahan's going to punt on second down and kick a field goal on first and goal.
That might help.
I'm just saying that I wouldn't be surprised if Mullens has a bad game and they still let him finish it out. Hey, by the way, before we keep talking, hit us with a like for all of you that are watching. I mean, hell, we're doing a full show on an Oakland Raiders 49ers showdown slate where someone named Nick Mullens is starting. That's the least you can do for us, right? Hit us with a thumbs up. I mean, we do love doing this stuff. We love our viewers. Subscribe, hit the notification bell as well, and we'll keep this one going. I'll say this much.
Put it this way. I got one final point on this, right?
Go ahead.
A quick analogy here, if you will. All right, so one of us, either of you, picture it in your own head, right? You're matched up in a head-to-head against, Matthew Berry, who's a legend in the game, who you think you are better at this point in life, right? Like I'm sure, in over the long haul, would all be favored against someone like that in a DFS head-to-head. You're playing him, and he just goes out there and he's killing you through the 1 p.m. games, and it's about to be the 4 p.m. games. You're pulling out all the goddamn stops, right? You're trying to beat that guy. He's the legend that you think you are better than, and you're going to go after it. That's Kyle Shanahan versus John Gruden. Probably not that extreme, but...
my problem with that analogy is that this legend we speak of is also sitting at 1-6 in the basement of his division.
Yeah, so he's beatable. Like, he's obviously beatable. It'd be embarrassing to lose.
I don't think they're going to try to lose. I just don't know if they want to play. We'll see.
And I'll say this for my final point. Don't forget, if and this is a big if say they brought Beathard in and say he gets seriously hurt, then Kyle Shanahan is stuck with Nick Mullens for the rest of the year.
Yep, Shanahan's sitting there with his dick in the.
Then it's not his fault, and he gets to pick a stud. Your boy from Houston, number 1 overall.
He's having a rough year, but yeah. But no, I mean, we'll see. It's not going to matter because Nick Mullens, he's got that Southern Miss swag. He's gonna be all right tonight.
How many touchdowns?
Better than Nathan Peterman, or?
Well, we're gonna have some hot takes on the Bills for our Sunday show, Lofty. Don't worry about that.
Oh, I can't. Hey, I don't know if you saw this tweet that I put out during Monday Night Football. I always root for the Bills when they face the Patriots because they always keep it somewhat close through most of it and then get their doors blown off. Can we just say that Sean McDermott is a buffoon for punting past the 50? I mean, in the fourth quarter with like 6 minutes left, down by 1 possession. How long? When are coaches going to realize? And you're a Patriots fan, Andrew. I'm an Eagles fan, so we saw how the Super Bowl went. When are coaches going to learn that? Maybe you see Jacksonville with Doug Marrone. You see the Falcons and the Super. When are these coaches going to learn that when you sit back against the Patriots and you play it soft in the fourth quarter and you go conservative? When the game is within reach for either side, you're going to get beat. The only reason the Eagles won is because they went for it on 4th down. If they didn't, they lose that game maybe by 2 possessions. So I'm looking forward to these Buffalo takes because the Buffalo Bills have 3 passing touchdowns this year. Patrick Mahomes has thrown 4 more touchdowns in 5 individual games. That's how bad they are. Just saying. That's a crazy stat. Think about that. Like as a team.
That's pretty nuts. It goes
anyway, let me make my final point on this San Francisco offense. If I was going to go with a running back, I think I would just say screw it and go with the half-priced Raheem Mostert, who burned a lot of people out. Like actually a decent amount of people played him, who burned a decent amount of people. I'm not saying he was 20% owned, but you get the point. And is really just completely off the radar, especially now he's got the Q next to his name. I would rather do that than pay for Breida, who's like the 4th highest priced player and is clearly hobbled to the point where his efficiency is through the floor. That's all.
Well,
all right. Go ahead, Ben.
I was just going to say the perfect the first thing you said when you talked about someone who was popular, burnt everyone, isn't getting the snaps.
No, we can't start here. Come on.
I'm just saying. I mean, it's gonna come
No. I am 86ing this. I'm overriding. We'll get
Who
there.
did he say?
We can start less egregious.
anyone.
We'll get there. We will get to a stupid player that. Lofty, we've had our dalliances with this guy too, and he came back last week.
Oh, Tavis. It's got to be Tavis.
Don't even. It's like Voldemort. We don't even need to go there. We can play.
No.
Okay, like speaking optimally, Derek Carr is probably the best captain in this game, right? It's either him or Cook. There are two real plays in this game.
I agree.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Great.
Did you want to continue
talk
with
about Tavis? No, I mean.
I thought you had.
I thought there was more to that too.
It certainly seemed like it.
I was just trying to set it up to like there are potentially two players we can talk that aren't total trash here, but yeah, it's really not that fun. Carr doesn't throw the ball downfield. I mean, Cook's just in a really good spot. Like again, with no Tart, he's their best. He's their kind of guy tasked with. I think Reuben Foster's out too, who like he's more of a run stopper, but like he's one of their other like three good defensive players, and they appear to be missing two of them. Like San Francisco's trash too, so even Derek Carr and the hapless Oakland Raiders should be able to move the ball somewhat effectively and then stop. And then, this will be good. Remember the trivia game last week or the week before we played where it was, hey, can you name the Miami Dolphins kicker? And none of us could. Can you name the Oakland Raiders kicker?
I can, because of your game last week when I was clicking Robbie Gould for my lineups. I said, who the hell is this Carlson guy? Yeah. I discovered that's the Raiders kicker. Never heard of that person in my life.
Dude, Danny Carlson is the guy who blew it for who was he with this year where he missed 3 field goals and
the Vikings kicker?
The Viking, yeah.
Oh.
Dude, yes.
Danny
Carlson. I'm almost certain that he is the one that look at his jersey. Click on his That's him.
And he played weeks 1 and 2 and then week 8. So,
here's it. Carlson will get his chance at redemption. This was last week with the Raiders after he was cut by the Vikings following their week 2 tie with the Packers. That he missed all 3 field goal tries and 2 of them were in overtime. It was a terrible game.
Bro, he's on fire. He's on fire right now, though. He just went 4 for 4 on extra points in a dome last week.
Fire.
I can't even cheat when we play this game because I can't filter by position. Just kicker, You have to actually look for it, and it's tough.
Yeah, that was the guy, Mike Zimmer. He cut him, and they're just like, was it a tough decision? He was just like, did you see the game? No, not
say that.
Far. Yeah, oh yeah, he buried him when he cut him. That was
all right. So Ben, let me throw this to you. The one thing I really like, and I want you to just add on to this, right? The one thing I really like about Martavis Bryant is he played 7 snaps last week. Really great stuff.
good blocking. Yeah,
really great stuff, man.
Yeah.
How many routes did he run? Was he blocking all 7 of them?
He had a nice play where they looked to him as a fake ball screen, and then they threw a touchdown to Seth Roberts. That was a good one. And then he saw a real nice catch out of bounds that was holding on the offensive line. Those were his 2 big plays. Other than that, it was somewhat quiet for Tavis. You know what? That's one of those situations, and it's interesting, obviously, for something like tonight, because it's not that he played bad last week. He just got no opportunity, and that's a distinction that you actually do have to make. Yeah, will he get any run here? I have no idea. Brandon LaFell is on the Raiders, catching touchdowns last week. Didn't know that was a thing. No one's going to play Martavis relative to what he would have been had he got normal distribution of snaps last week. Obviously, if he sees 7 snaps, that's going to be a problem. But if he gets an uptick, you were talking about with Goodwin, there's nobody more in the it only takes 1 or 2 targets to go nuclear than Martavis.
And there is actually a better quarterback. Now, here's the thing. Martavis, you can't really – I don't see him going down from 7 snaps. If he plays if Martavis Bryant played 20 snaps tonight, okay, mind you, there were only 50 offensive snaps for Oakland in that last game, which if you think about it is insane, right? Because of the score and the amount of points that Indy had a possession of that ball for a while, but he played 7 snaps. I think Oakland probably sees more than 50 offensive snaps today. They're averaging 74, 75. a lot. I think he could play 20, and then maybe like run 12 routes.
I mean, do you guys even want to hear me do like?
Go ahead. It's your guy. This is.
I know.
Yeah,
Martavis Bryant's like my favorite player in the like ever, and he, you know, you don't want to hear me recite his combine stats again. It's just like, it's impossible that this guy has not been better. I don't get it. You know, I played him all the time last year. You know, I certainly got sucked in last week. It's like I'm not missing Tavis week. Absolutely not. And he played 7 snaps. I will say the thing is, like, he is definitely an outside guy. Like, Jordy Nelson is probably more of a slot receiver at this point. Seth Roberts is only a slot receiver. Brandon LaFell is probably better suited to the slot at this point. So, like, there should be, assuming the 2 old guys can't play every snap, like, there should be some opportunity there. He's a freak athlete. You just have to throw the ball up to him. You know, Derek Carr doesn't really throw the ball downfield very much, but man, I will certainly have some Martavis, and he screws me every time. So sorry to everyone who I
don't understand
to over the years.
He played 75% of the snaps. Amari Cooper got traded. The offensive coordinator said that he's grasping the playbook and he looks explosive. And then he played 7 snaps. It's inexplicable.
Amari Cooper's would be a better slot receiver too. Like, it's just all of them. So like, they need him on the outside, and then he plays 7 snaps. I don't know.
Allow me to put this in perspective. He played 23 fewer snaps than Seth Roberts. He played 39 fewer snaps than Brandon LaFell.
Yeah, they both caught touchdowns.
Which means he probably fucked up. It's probably something disciplinary, and like maybe that was just his timeout warning. And if he gets full run this week, look out.
He played 7 more snaps than Keon Hatcher. Look, this is I am totally with you, as disgusting as it is. Really, though, what better spot, or what, first of all, it is a good spot, but what better time than to say, quite frankly, fuck it, I'm playing Martavis Bryant. What I mean, it's a showdown slate. He's $3,000. I mean,
yeah, think about what that savings gets you.
you could, yeah, I know, right? But I mean, it really is true. There's really no argument against it. I'm serious.
Wow.
Like, I don't think there is. Not on this slate. I don't.
I mean, the argument is, it's not an argument.
He plays 7 snaps.
It's, if you play him, there's a real chance the only time you see him is when he's catching Nick Mullens passes that are 30 feet out of bounds on the bench. And that's about all you'll see of him. But yeah, like when the other team is throwing it away. That's the only time you're going to see him, is when he's panning to the sidelines and Tate's on the bench catching it like a coach.
To be clear, I'm not saying he's a good play. I'm saying it's literally a 1-game slate where your alternatives are, there's 6 spots, right? So you're already, like, let's say Derek Carr, all right, Jared Cook, you could throw Kittle in there. Like, then you're getting down to Jalen Richards, the Jordy Nelsons, right? The Nick Mullens, the Doug Martins, the Seth Roberts, the Brandon LaFell. So and then of course the kickers, Danny Carlson, who was cut by the Vikings in week 2 and only kicked extra points last week. It's not like a full slate where you're saying, okay, well, it's this guy, or I'll look at 23 other teams for value. That's all.
And I think you would assume that you're not going to get ownership relative to what we probably would have, even if he had 2 catches. Yes, like, he got an actual 0 in all facets of life on Sunday. So yeah, I mean, it's nice on a showdown because you can do it and feel a little more comfortable, because the goal here is to be unique, and it only takes. I mean, we saw Aldrick Robinson in a spot where he only got that kind of snaps, and he turned in a miraculous performance, and it helped somebody do something positive with their life.
You're absolutely right.
Maybe
positive with their life.
Like, it's just hard to imagine. Martavis Bryant is just one of those guys. He seems to burn people, especially at opportune times. This doesn't feel like one of those. And it's true. Even if this is what I would honestly say, just to wrap up my thoughts on it. Sure. Say he only does get 10 snaps. You still have a couple outs. You know what? I mean, that's worst case scenario is even in that, yeah, he probably gets you 0 and you're done. But even there, he could bail you out. And if he doesn't, you're going to be at a really nice position relative to the field because that guy's got upside through the roof when he's on the field.
Correct. And Aldrick Robinson against who are they playing? Who was it that game?
I can't remember. Vikings and
who the hell was? I thought it was actually. Oh, it was the Rams.
Oh,
Right?
that game was awesome. That was a really fun game to watch.
I don't remember.
Am I
Aldrick
right
was the
though?
one.
Wasn't it the Rams though?
Yeah, it was like a
It was.
total
It
barn
was.
burner.
Yeah, there were 500-yard receivers, but Aldrick Robinson had 2 touchdowns.
Yep.
He had 9 offensive snaps, 12% in that game.
Yep.
9 of 74. So
It helped. One of those dudes was Blender HD. Remember that guy, Jordan?
Correct.
He hung out
Yeah,
at the Insider
yeah.
Sports. Always seemed like a nice
Yeah.
guy. That was cool.
winning lineup had Aldrick. Well, winning lineups, and I think there were actually only like 7 of them that game.
Because of
Because
that's what Tavis could do. Like
Right.
it really shrinks your duplication because there's not that many crazy people who want to go to a guy who might get you 0.
Yep.
I think similar, like in that vein, should we not forget that everyone hates Jordy right now too? I mean,
We
I know he's
also-
old. I hate him too, but the
yeah,
money's
I
not
mean,
a problem.
it was really bizarre last week. I really like David Carr. I had a good amount. The people you would pair him up with were Jordy, Tavis, and Jalen Richard, who wasn't horrible. And it turned out that Seth Roberts and LaFell, obviously,
Yep.
Cook, we talked about Cook.
yeah.
He is just a surefire good play. But yeah, Jordy, and I, just to name, we didn't really talk about Doug Martin. He got the volume.
Yeah.
He
Let's not go to Doug Martin quite yet. Let's finish out the pass catchers here, just because there's a lot.
Yeah.
And last thing I'll say on Martavis, and I'll let you guys close out your thoughts on the Oakland pass catchers, including Cook. But I don't really think we have much to say on him, right? Like you can kind of fit what you want. I guess where I'm saying is, if guys are going to be looking at Seth Roberts after last week and Brandon LaFell last week, right, who had a combined 8 targets, like, yeah, they got more snaps, but had a combined 8 targets. And they're also, for what it's worth, not much. They're also, $2,800 more expensive than Martavis Bryant. Give me the guy that everyone hates, but can at least give you a big play touchdown. And if everyone wants LaFell and Seth Roberts, then yeah, okay, I'm okay taking a stab. Andrew, and then you, Ben. We'll close out the pass catchers.
Yeah, I mean, Tavis is really tall and really fast, and he jumps higher than anyone. He should be way better at sports than he is. It's been a frustration for me for a long time.
If you want to mention the other guys too, though, here, if there's any interest in any other Roberts or LaFell or,
I personally am going to take the route of Roberts and LaFell did not play that much. They didn't get that many targets, and they are going to be more popular, and it's Showdown. So I take much harder stands in Showdown than I would on a main slate. So I will most likely have 0 at the moment, and we're 20 minutes away. So probably going to stay having 0 Roberts and LaFell. And play more Jordy and Tavis and plenty of Cook. I'm not fading Cook. That seems crazy.
No, of course. So, okay. So you and I are on the same page there. Ben, I'm assuming you have a similar take.
I do. It's Showdown, and Andrew said it well, that you're kind of just taking a more aggressive stance. Guys, like, it's the same concept when we go here and again. Throughout the year, I can tell you for 100%, these takes, you're going to get them more often wrong than right. But when you get it right, and then what I'm going to say is, if one of these guys, if you take LaFell, Seth Roberts, and Martavis, and you told me one of them scores 20 plus tonight, I would say it's Martavis by a wide margin. Now, if you told me someone scores 0, it's also him. But that's not the point. The point is that he still has that upside. Now, most of the time it's going to fail, but it only takes, in something like this with a volatile slate, one of those every, a long period of time. So I'll continuously roll the dice like that. It's Showdown. That's why, as we always talk about, this isn't the best way to grind up your bankroll. It's more, you take the plunge, you're in a huge field tournament, and you want to make some aggressive stands.
Yep. It was a week or so ago that Jordan Thomas caught 2 touchdowns? Right?
Yeah. And I learned who that was all at the same time.
There's
All right,
so
Ben,
many showdown slates too, which is the crazy thing about this. It's like, oh my god, we've got which game was that? There's 3 every week.
Yeah, you mix them up. It's really easy to mix them up, especially with certain teams that play them so often. Ben, I cut you off earlier on Doug Martin. Go ahead and let's hear what you have to say.
Yeah, I mean, he got the work last week. I was on Jalen Richard like a lot of people were, and he wasn't terrible, but Doug Martin got the carries. And if Oakland, who, offensively, they looked pretty good, he's going to get the touches. He did fumble. I actually thought he looked pretty fresh, pretty good, and I think he's a pretty solid play this week. Nothing spectacular, but you have to fill out your roster with – you can't go all crazy Martavis, Goodwin types. You got to get a couple people that you know, or you could do that. Take 6 wild men, but you do want a couple guys that you say, you know what, I feel pretty comfortable. They're going to return just some raw points, and I'm not going to have to worry about that. And I expect with his workload him to be just fine tonight.
All right, that sounds good to me.
Doug Martin
Andrew,
or Robbie Gould or Daniel Carlson, Ben? Rank those 3.
you got to go Martin. Come on. You got to go. They're going to have the ball in their hands a lot.
I mean, Robbie Gould is a good Carlson's last. The other 2 I like pretty good amount.
It's not out of the realm of possibility, though, that Doug Martin has a 60-yard rushing game with no catches, and that those guys both kick 3-4 field goals. Because I think, like I was saying, I do think because the defenses are so bad, the teams will be able to run the ball, but the offenses are so bad, they may not be very efficient in the red zone, and it's much harder to execute offense in the red zone because there's less field for the defense to cover. So I think there may be a lot of sputtering drives that end up in kickers. I'm actually really interested in the kickers tonight, and I hate myself for it.
It's kind of wild. Doug Martin, did you see where Derek Carr scored on the 4th and goal? Dove over the pile.
Yeah.
Doug Martin saw 3 straight attempts.
Sad.
1st, 2nd, and 3rd down was all Doug Martin. And then obviously they fell behind. But it's not out of the realm of possibility that Doug Martin does get a lot of work. And I think the Niners offense has a very tough time getting anything generated. So
that would have been half of Martavis' entire snap count. Those 3 Doug Martin stuffs. He could have got up to 10 if he was standing there for.
Why don't they just hand it off to Tavis? He's bigger than everyone else.
If he was on the Patriots, Kenyon Barner, sure, he's going to be the running back. No, wait, it's Cordero Patterson from the top rope. So you never know with these things.
Fast.
So
is there anything we haven't touched on yet? Defenses.
This is the main slate.
Yep.
Look at that. I don't like
Hit
them.
it.
Listen, you can always go there, especially with an unknown like Nick Mullens. Yeah. I still don't think that the goal here is going to be – Andrew, you've talked about this and I've adopted it from you. It's actually counterintuitive. If a guy is so bad, all they just give him a simple task, which is don't turn it over. The guys you want to target defenses against are guys like Deshaun Watson who are crazy playmakers and who are doing too much. I don't see many scenarios where Nick Mullens does too much. Yeah, maybe – but it has to come down to a pass rush. What I was going to say is maybe the Raiders put some heat on him, he fumbles, things like that. That doesn't really seem like a too realistic outcome, to be honest. I don't have a ton of interest on that side.
No,
Andrew.
This is a totally garbage, particularly Showdown slate too. I actually get into Showdown stuff, but I'm also I'm going out to dinner tonight, so I have 10 lineups. I've got Raiders defense in 2 of them. I think it's reasonable. Okay. Let's not forget how Nick Mullens could be really, really bad, and that is certainly something you want to attack. But, again, the Raiders don't have personnel in the secondary. They don't have a pass rush. It's going to be really hard. That said, Mullens could be, we don't know. He may just be totally oblivious and have some guy, come from behind and him not see them. So,
yeah, it's a brutal defense, both of them. I'd almost be more inclined to take San Francisco defense because Derek Carr makes just as many mistakes. Well, we don't know, but we don't know how many he's going to make. But what we do know is that Derek Carr is going to be 90% owned. And the Niners defense is terrible, but they're actually not as bad as Oakland. That's how bad Oakland's defense is.
They might be tonight with their personnel.
They might. Look, I'm not recommending San Francisco defense on a main slate or even a 2-game slate. But it's a 1-game slate. And I'm not even saying to recommend them. What I'm saying is everyone, if they're going to play a defense, is going to think Oakland is the shoe-in go-to because of Nick Mullens. But let's not forget that Derek Carr makes a ton of mistakes.
Yeah. And
Yeah, I've seen Niners.
And on showdowns, it's actually a pretty strong correlation to try and go for the opposing defense and quarterback. Because it's not, that's really hard for that to work. Like, when there's so many options to pick from in the main slate, you're trying to get smashes. Something like this, it's like if Derek Carr somehow just is a turd in the first quarter and throws a pick six and fumbles the ball, then they're playing from behind and he's throwing a lot.
Yep.
So
it happened with Pittsburgh's defense and Fitzpatrick earlier this season. Remember, Pittsburgh defense had like 23 DraftKings points, and Fitzpatrick ends up throwing for 400 yards.
Yeah.
It's not a crazy thought. Yeah, it certainly isn't. All right, let's close it out with this, boys. And to all of our viewers, of course, thank you for watching. We got plenty of shows coming up tomorrow. From A to B, the deeper dive, the process show in the morning, live before lock. Give us a like before you head out for the night. We wish you the best of luck as well. And subscribe, hit those notifications if you've yet to do so. Ben, who is the winning captain spot player? I'm not going to ask you the whole lineup. Who is the winning player in the captain spot? And don't go generic on me, baby. Take a leap.
The Niners defense.
Wow. Love it. Love it. With or without Derek Carr in the lineup?
With.
I would say the same if I was going to pick them. Andrew?
I mean, similar idea, but I'll go Robbie Gould, and it's Derek Carr's in there too.
So I guess I'm left with no choice but to go Martavis Bryant.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Good luck to all of you. For Ben, Andrew, myself, we'll catch you back here next Thursday on Three Fellas Talking Football. Good luck tonight.
Oh, it's my job to stop this.